I'm Ranch with the other magazines at the Cannabis Collective Retreat, joined by Rich Bashkoff, who provides real-time market intelligence to cannabis operators through lit alerts. You're the crystal ball for cannabis markets. What data points surprises operators most when they first see your analytics, Rick?
Yeah, thanks for having us. It's always nice to be able to talk about data out in the open here. I'd say the first thing that people, both brands and retailers, are surprised by is just how much information is out there. Because when we talk to people who are not using data tools that give them information on the market, they're often complain, right? I have no visibility. I can't see where my competitors are. I don't know how my products are priced. And when they get their first look at, either us or a competitor, right? They're just kind of overwhelmed by, wow, there's so much information here. And so I'd say that, for the most part, people are not only surprised by the amount of information, but just how easy it can be to access if you're working with a tool that makes it accessible for you. Because it's a pretty daunting task, right? You're trying to get all of your daily tasks done while also keeping an eye on the market. And what does that look like without a data tool? It's sitting at a desk and searching retail menus all day long, right?
Yeah.
And so no one who's on the ground in cannabis has any time for that. So I'd say that's the thing that they're most surprised by and is one of the kind of secret weapons in cannabis for some of those more seasoned operators, is that there are data tools out there for you to use. So I just think that it might be kind of like an easy answer, but just the mere existence of these data visualizations are quite surprising for people.
There's some solutions in there too to some of the challenges that are racking their brains.
Exactly.
It's got to be nice to see those answers. Looking at New York's cannabis market data, what trends are you seeing that others are missing?
Yeah, I mean, look, I don't want to beat the dead horse, right? But price compression is coming. We're starting to see some of those effects early on, began in the January, February timeframe. So I think that New York, New Jersey, all of these kind of East Coast markets that are now having their day, I think that's the thing that most people need to have their eye on. It's coming whether we want it or not. And so I think that, if you're a brand, now is the time to start planning around that strategy and anticipating in 26, 27, pricing may be off 10, 15, 20% from where it is today. So what are you doing today to either increase SKU coverage or increase SKU count at individual retail accounts to kind of make up for that delta?
Yeah, it's got to be hard to keep tabs and just generally try to see what's coming when it comes to that. There's a myriad of data points and just a lot of
and it's not all going to happen at once,
right?
You're probably going to see it in flower first because that's where the source is all coming from. And you'll probably see more of the, more processed products take price compression hits a little later on. So having a tool that kind of gives you that, as you said, kind of a little bit of a crystal ball into what's probably coming is super helpful.
Okay. How does real-time market intelligence change decision-making for the dispensaries and cultivators?
Yeah, I mean, look, I think it's just giving them, for what we've done at Little Alerts is we've focused really very tightly on creating data visualizations that are mapped to decision making. Now, that's a lot of word jumble. That's a little boring, but what it really means is nobody has time to sit around and look at fancy graphs all day, right? To try and get the information that they need. We're talking about 5 to 10 minute hits here where you log into a tool like Little Alerts and you're able to see, where am I running low on product, right? Where am I out of product? Where are my competitors on sale? These are all signals that you can map to an action, right? Running low on product, it's time to have a conversation with the buyer. My competition is priced more aggressively than me. That's a conversation to have with leadership, right? So there's lots of, what we focus on is turning this data, which is super nerdy and we're all into it at Little Alerts, but for the general users, these are not, data folks. They are account executives, account managers, brand ambassadors, buyers, inventory managers, GMs. These are folks that we like to call them it's the ground game. It's the operators of cannabis. And so that's where we've focused our kind of tool in the actual views that you can see of the market data is mapping it directly to an action. So I'll give you a really quick example. In our tool, there is a very easy locations map. The location maps just gives you a color-coded map of all the locations in the state. If it's green, it says your brand is on the menu. If it's in yellow, it's previously been on the menu.
Cool.
And if it's in red, it's never been there. So just like really easy to see where is my product or maybe where a competitor's product is.
And so the alert side of it, are they getting alerted when things are out of inventory? Do they have to go in and log in, or are they going to get some sort of
Yeah, this is like perfect time to ask me this because we're like on the doorstep of like having the vision of our product come to life. So we did name the company Lit Alerts for a reason. The co-founders really had a vision of, I mean, we're probably going to push beyond a lot of our users even needing to log into the app. And so, yes, the alerts function is a core to the experience. So what I'll give you a couple examples of what we have today. A brand can get a morning email that shows them everywhere our system threw a low quantity or out of stock alert in the last 24 hours. This is a great way to start your day to pick the data signal right out of the morning email, right? On the retail side, we have a morning retailer snapshot. So in the morning, so for brands and wholesalers, this is really about for the retailers, the top retailers that you're in that you're looking to expand SKU count, or aspirational accounts that you're looking to break into. And what you can do is you can get a morning digest that shows you what happened at those accounts yesterday. So you now have this kind of morning feed where you can look for the right time and the right signal to reach out to that buyer.
Okay, perfect. Okay, that's a good answer. I figured you were there at this point in the game.
It's only going to get better because we tested this feature in 2024, and it's become by far our most popular feature. So we'll be blowing that out.
So you guys are in multiple states as well, with New York being a big one. How does the Hudson Valley, New York City market, that regional market, compared to, I guess, other regions?
Yeah, I mean, look, I think that some of the product mix is a little different, right? Like you've got most of the beyond the Hudson Valley and downstate, you have a lot more focus on flower. The Hudson Valley and downstate is a lot more bent towards the convenience factor. So I'll give you a
vapes and edibles.
Yeah, so like vapes and edibles, obviously, but then like you even look at something like beverage that still only takes up single digits of market share in a place like New York, which is social, beverage scene is pretty hot, right? Like on 420, we saw some stores do 5-10% of their sales in beverage, right? So I think the biggest difference is the SKU assortment. And I do think look, just those being the population centers, the SKU count is also much larger in the stores because they're carrying a much larger variety. They're speaking to much more dynamic audiences when
more
they're
foot
marketing.
traffic too.
Exactly.
Sure.
Yeah, exactly.
Based on your data, what's one major market shift coming that most operators aren't preparing for, maybe beyond the compression?
Yeah, I would say I would say kind of like the more connoisseur products are starting to gain traction. So you've got your solventless vapes, and you've got people are starting to even market different levels of infused pre-roll, right? Is it a distillate infused versus live resin? So I think you're going to see a lot more of those connoisseur products start to take up share, particularly again in that downstate as folks are kind of moving beyond some of their first experiences. But look, on the opposite end of that, value is starting to pick up more and more share as people are getting to be more regular customers and they're consuming more product, they're looking for value. So I think you're going to see growth on kind of both ends of the extreme spectrum. And I think that's something that a lot of people are not thinking about right now.
And as a consumer of many things, but it does make me think that, after a while, you may love a store, you may have had amazing experiences, but, like anything else in U.S. consumerism, you want to get some hookup. You want to feel like something else, they're going to hold on to you and keep you.
So here's a perfect example of how some of the retailers are using our tool, right? So if I'm a retail GM, my universe is 20-mile radius, right? And so if I can understand when my competitors are putting things on deal or if they're running out, I can now kind of compete against them and understand how I get that consumer that they're missing right now into my store.
Everybody needs this at this point. If it's going that way, you better be logged in, But then I guess my last thought there is, I was around a lot of beauty care, like skin care products and all that, and Yeah, I think sometimes it just feels like people just want to hear about something new they can buy, even though whatever they've been buying has been amazing and perfect and worked forever. They're like, oh, there's some new cool thing they've thrown in the mix. So I think that it makes sense that the market here in
And
New
look,
York is at that place too.
this is where brands, the ground game is paramount, right? We got brands in our system who are observing when they're doing these in-store stand-ups where they can talk about the new products and really represent their brand within the dispensary walls. They're seeing that performance in Little Arts,
Yep.
you know, the next day. So those are really, really important things to do for a brand. I mean, most brands know this, but it's becoming more and more important. As you said, people are looking for those new things. You got to be there to talk to them in the store.
Is there anything KPI wise that a cannabis business owner, maybe brand, or they should be tracking that they might be ignoring?
Yeah, I would say, well, the first thing that comes to mind is the distribution store count doesn't tell everything, right? So a KPI that we often see people talking about, right, is I'm in this many doors.
Right.
That doesn't mean that your product is selling through.
Sure.
It doesn't mean that your retailers are expanding SKU count. So I think that that type of KPI, and we've seen our brand customers share with us how they do this internally, but you want to look at, are you expanding SKU count? Is the sell through at a pace that you can deliver on, right? Because we've got some brands in our system. We say, look, we sell through here, and you know it's helping us with demand planning. But yeah, I mean, I would say that, you know, going beyond just the number of doors that you're in and trying to get another qualifier around how long have you remained on shelf,
Perfect.
right?
Yeah.
That type of thing
Okay.
really gets buyers, you know, what we've seen to really step forward.
So finally, what's your go-to cannabis product right now, and why do you recommend it?
So I'm going to give a shout out to Lead Farmer here in New York.
Okay. Haven't heard of that.
A new micro brand. So I'm a flower smoker. And, you know, for me, it's been a little frustrating trying to get quality indoor in New York because of the regulations, right? So some of these micros that are coming up, I'll shout out Collector as well as another one. And I've picked these up at Cannabis Realm in White Plains is the store that I shop at. But it's been kind of some of the first indoor flower that I've hit, and it does what it's supposed to do.
Great. Yeah.
And
There's a threshold there.
yeah,
They
and
just
so
gotta
I'd
hit.
say like that's my favorite right now. But outside of New York, I also got to give a shout out to the guys at Clade 9 in New Jersey. These guys were, you know, came from California. You have a pretty popular cultivator there, but I've been talking about it. I mean, it's like kind of broken record at this point, but go buy Orange Push Pop.
All right.
Pretty solid.
Well, Rick with Little Arts, thanks so much.
Appreciate you guys.
Appreciate you. Have fun today.
All right, you too.